What's in the cards and the stars for you this week? Let's dive into the astrology, the lunar cycle, where the moon is for all my moon sensitive friends in this week ahead of April 14th to the 19th, 2025. I am so excited that you are here. My voice is a little off because I had an incredible weekend at the Body, Mind, Spirit Expo in Cincinnati, Ohio, doing readings for almost 12 hours a day. And it was great. So many friends came out to say hello. So many of you. Thank you so much. Hello, Julie. I even had a friend surprise me and pop up who drove in all the way from Michigan. I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude and love for all of you. Thank you for all of the support and thank you for being here. Let's dive into this week ahead. I am going to make sure that I'm live in all the places because this is a great week. We're coming off a full moon in Libra. Let me know how that full moon in Libra worked for you. It was a Libra moon, so it was about relationships. And Venus went direct right after the full moon. So you may have had an opportunity to go back and heal old wounds around relationships or to come to some understanding and healing. But this week, oh my goodness, this week there's a lot going on. We are full force, moving ahead. All planets are direct. And without further ado, let's talk about the energy of the week itself. What I'm doing now is before we pop on, I always do a meditative practice. I tune in and I ask, what's the most important thing that you need to know about this week ahead? And I'm pulling the cards for the week's energy ahead. That way we can really dive into the theme of the week. And then we'll pull cards for each individual day, talk about where the moon is, how you can make the most of it, the sacred practices that are going to enable you to step into the life you were born to live. Okay, so first thing that came up was actually, it was really the Page of Pentacles. And then quickly after, the Nine of Swords followed. So these two cards came up. Now, the Page of Pentacles is very, very loyal. He is someone, or she or they are someone who is going to stick around no matter what. It is the energy of a student, but it's the energy of someone who has an open heart. They're very young and lively in their heart. Doesn't have to be young by age, but they stick by you. And then the Nine of Swords, this is where we wake up in the middle of the night, like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and our mind starts to turn. And we get all these thoughts. The birds represent the thoughts, all these worries. And we're concerned, like, how's it going to work out? What's going to happen? And often when we wake up and daylight comes, all of those dark thoughts turn a little brighter. We realize, okay, it's not so bad. I can come up with a plan. I'm not alone. I have friends in high places. But when these two cards came up together, what really came through for me to share with all of you is that I want to invite you to ask yourself, what have you been saying yes to that's been keeping you up at night? Where are you being loyal that has been quietly stealing your peace? That's pretty heavy. But the thing about this week is we're going into the waning energy because we're coming off of the full moon. It's all about letting go and surrendering. So I want to invite you, be kind to yourself, be compassionate. We're going to also get to the last quarter moon at the end of the week, which is a wonderful time for letting go and releasing. So ultimately, this week, it is a powerful time to clear, to cleanse, to consciously dissolve cords and ties with outdated patterns, beliefs, systems, the things that you've been staying loyal to that really still aren't serving your highest. And hey, it could be a daily routine. Maybe it worked for you in the past, getting up at 4, getting up at 5, hitting the gym. Maybe now things are changing and shifting. Maybe you want to sleep in a little bit and work out at a different time. Or maybe it's eating, or maybe it's the friendships and relationships and partnerships that the full moon in Libra shine a light on. Hi, Hannah. So glad you're here. So, in this particular video, what we're going to go over this week is we're going to talk about how to really be able to trust your intuition to say, am I sticking around just for, out of loyalty to the habit, the routine, the pattern? Is it time to let it go? How do I really know? We're going to talk about how to navigate the big cosmic shifts that are coming up. We have some fun things happening with Mercury moving into Aries, yay, and out of Pisces. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about how Neptune and Mercury are dancing in the heavens above, and Mars is moving into Leo. We're also going to talk about how to work with the moon on a daily basis. I'm going to give you tips on how to harness that energy to make the most of the day, and so that you don't feel like, oh, my emotions are up and down. What am I doing? But this is really a gentle invitation to invite you to release what is no longer yours to carry and realign with your soul path. So let's reset, realign with our soul, our energy, and reclaim our clarity. Diving in, let's talk about the overarching energy of the week ahead. So, when we look at the week ahead, what you're going to find is that we are moving in a waning phase. The full moon happened on Saturday, and now the light of the moon is dimming, dimming, dimming. And as the light of the moon dims, what you are going to experience is that maybe your energy is also kind of going down a little bit. You might notice that you're not feeling, I want to be extroverted, I want to go out to the parties. You might want to go into the deeper reflective states, and that's okay. When you have a waning moon, it is about clearing the clutter, letting go. You know, if you still have spring cleaning to do, I know I do, kick into that. If you are looking at the routines, the habits, same thing. Allow yourself that opportunity to simply let go. Now, I'm going to go back and make sure I stay on track. I have my little notes to make sure that I don't go too far off into the dandelions. But let's see if I can find my notes. And if I can't find my notes, that's okay. We'll just go with it. But it's nice because the thing is that, no, my notes aren't there. So here, let's see this. Let's just go for it. And you guys will keep me on track. But when we're talking about that waning moon, the other thing I want to just really highlight are those three big things that are happening. Number one, I'll look at my little notes here, Mercury moving into Aries on Wednesday. When Mercury moves into Aries, you're going to find that your thinking changes. You're going to be direct. You're going to be maybe a little bit more impulsive, maybe a little more assertive. I'm going to invite you to maybe pause before you send the email, or you just kind of like in the head, out the mouth before you say the thing. Because when Mars goes into Aries, we're just saying Mercury, goes into Aries, we're saying what's on our mind, and we're not necessarily filtering it. So just be mindful, because it might kind of whack a person energetically and they may be a little bit surprised. But it's going to be clarity and thinking, quick mind, quick action. The next thing that happens on Thursday that's really kind of nice to take note of before we get into the moon, because this energy that I'm describing now is a little bit bigger, you're going to notice it a little bit more intensely, is that Mercury is going to be conjunct Neptune. Now, when Mercury meets up with Neptune in the sky, Mercury is a planet of communication, and Neptune is daydreaming and imagination and being able to tap into your intuition. You might receive wonderful intuitive downloads and insights. Your mind might be going off into fantasy land. You might be dreaming big, very vivid imagination, big dreams or vivid dreams. I'm going to encourage you, ground on Thursday. We'll go through the grounding process. And that's also going to help you when you're starting to discern what's my intuition and what's maybe fear. Or is this me just giving up too soon? I want to stay loyal to this partnership, this routine, this product. But we want to take a quick moment to examine that, because it just might not be in your highest and best interest right now. And then the final thing I want to mention is that Mars goes into Leo on Friday. And what's so beautiful about Mars going into Leo out of Cancer is Mars isn't really comfortable in Cancer, this fiery planet in the energy of emotions and water, and let's feel into it, and let's just kind of sit with it before we do anything. And Mars is like, let's just go. So with Mars going into Aries, he's like, wahoo! Mars going into Leo. I really want Mars in Aries, don't I? Mars goes into Leo, another fire sign. Who gets Mars? And Mars in Leo is a boost of confidence and courage. Take some time on Friday. And again, we'll talk about it with the tips, but take some time to really enjoy yourself. Maybe you dress up, maybe you get a great hairdo and you go out on the town and you just feel sassy, bold, and beautiful. All right. So let's break down the individual week. We'll pull cards for each day. And we're going to start with Monday. Monday, we kick off with the moon in Scorpio. And a Scorpio moon is a very deep moon. And sometimes, if it's being experienced at a lower frequency instead of a higher frequency, it might be a little bit like brooding. Think it's not exactly moody, but it's brooding. It's kind of just sitting in the depths, and the feelings might be very intense. Scorpio moons feel very, very deeply. That's why, to protect themselves, they'll put up walls or boundaries. Instead of doing that, because that blocks everything out, the good and the bad, come at it from a very grounded place. And we'll go over a grounding practice here in a moment. And when you're in that grounded place, you're going to imagine the golden light around you, which neutralizes the energy, and you use that as the protection rather than walls or mirrors or just, I'm tired, everybody's betrayed me, or we're waiting for somebody to betray us. Scorpio energy can fall into that at times, where because they are so intimate and because they lay their heart out and can be very vulnerable when they trust. And Scorpios, oh my God, they are so loyal. When one opens up to you, they stick with you through this lifetime and all of the following lifetimes. They are there for the long haul. So I want to invite you to know that if you have that Scorpio moon yourself, or even on Monday and Tuesday, if you're experiencing that vulnerability, this is a great time to say, okay, I'm going to go to a place where I feel safe, and I'm going to take a real look at what have I been loyal to that just, you know what, it's not in sync with me anymore. I don't have to be, because it's costing me my peace. So as we go through, I'm just going to pull a card and ask, what's the most important thing that you need to know about this energy on Monday? Queen of Swords. Now, this is very interesting. And hello, Shannon. Good morning. Oh, thank you. I'm tapping into the Leo energy already with the hair. So with this energy on Monday, Queen of Swords pops up. And as the Queen of Swords pops up, she's like, all right, let's rise above the emotion and the drama, and let's get a clear picture of what's going on. This reminds me very much of the Libran energy, which is saying we want to kind of balance ourselves out and look at things from all sides. So if you're feeling vulnerable on Monday, if you're feeling extra emotional and sensitive, if the anxiety that you have been feeling is coming from a place where it's like, can I trust this person really? Take a moment to step back and be objective. So things that you can do to help you with that is that you can take a moment to connect with the element of water. Scorpio energy is a water element. So maybe you take a moment to go by a lake, walk by a lake, get a long shower or a bath, and just stay. It's great if you can do the bath, but even if you do the shower, imagine the water releasing the energy out of your space that doesn't belong to you, especially the charged emotions, so that you can have a clearer head, basically, more clarity in noticing what's going on, because she's tucked her heart away, the emotions, so that she can be objective. So if those deep feelings rise to the surface, just give yourself some time to do a healing practice like the bath or the shower, where you wash the emotions away and then you fill back up with sunlight, basically that golden ray of light that enables you to step into a place of healing and of objectivity. All right, so Tuesday, the moon's still in Scorpio, so we're still doing that work. And when the moon is in Scorpio, know that it will switch later in the day to Sagittarius, but we kick off in Scorpio. And the energy that you wake up to, that really sets the tone of the day. So still in that intense work. What I do want to say is also with the Scorpio moon, be mindful if you're a little bit more compulsive, if you tend to obsess on something, because Scorpio energy, being a fixed energy, can really hone in on something like a dog with a bone, and then they don't shift. They're like, I got to stick with this. I got to stick with this. And they don't let go. So I invite you, just notice that. Notice if you find yourself getting fixated on something, especially if you are assessing, what have I been loyal to that isn't serving me? Give yourself a moment to step away from the desk, go for a walk, take that long bath, so you can get into a place of objectivity. I'm going to just ask, how can you make the most of this energy? 9 of Cups, make your wish. So dream big, wish big, and know that your prayers are being heard and answered. When that Scorpio moon falls into that state of, let's say, a lower frequency or a less than experience, what ends up happening is it can feel like, Lady Luck is not on her side, or it can feel like the world is against us because the Scorpios have opened their heart and been so vulnerable and have been burned. But this is saying, oh, you have friends in high places. Call on them, make the wishes, and give thanks for unanswered prayers already on their way. Act and believe and feel as if your prayer has already come into being. I love that. And hello, Chrissy. So glad to hear it. I'm glad that you're here today. Okay, so let's talk about Wednesday. Wednesday, we have the Sagittarian moon. And with the Sagittarian moon, Sagittarius is about adventure. They're adventure seekers. These are the friends who show up out of the blue and they're like, come on, let's go on a road trip. This is going to be a blast. Have passport, will travel. They need freedom. They don't want to be fenced in. If they have to stay at home every single weekend, they are just going to jump out of their skin. So with the Sagittarius moon, you might feel like, I need to get outside. I need to, be playful. I need to have an adventure, especially for us in the Northern Hemisphere with this nice spring weather coming in. I can already feel that like little itchiness. I need to get outside. I need to play. I want to see what's happening. I don't want to stay inside and work. That senioritis kicking in, which is nice. That lightness, that freedom we're seeking, because Monday and Tuesday might feel a little bit heavier and a little bit more serious. So I'm going to invite you, get out and play. Give yourself, that time where you're like, I'm going to give myself recess today, kind of like in elementary school, where you've been working so hard, you've been fixated on something, focusing so intently. You say, you know what, we're going to make sure we have a little bit of recess, a little bit of an adventure with Tuesday's Scorpio moon. And I'm going to just ask on your behalf what's most important that you need to know going into this energy. 4 of Cups. So this is Wednesday, actually. So Wednesday when the moon is in Sagittarius. Here's the thing is that sometimes it looks like everybody else is having more fun than we are. The grass is greener on the other side. But the 4 of Cups is reminding you, hey, where it might feel really boring, there's a pot of gold and treasure right underneath you. And what this really reminds me of is how many times are we a tourist in our hometown? We think about going out on an adventure and seeing a new city, new town. We might have a whole long list of, we want to go up to the top of the Empire State Building. We want to visit the Statue of Liberty. And we want to ride, one of those fun speedboats around Manhattan. And we plan all these things. But if we actually live in the city, we may never do those things. I grew up south of DC, and it was very rare that we got to go into DC and do a lot of these adventures because you're living and you're going through the daily grind and daily work. It's hard to make the time. So it's almost kind of like my beautiful Sagittarian friends and all those hit and affected and lit up by the Sagittarian moon on Wednesday. Don't feel like you gotta chuck it all and go to Tahiti or to some tropical paradise. You can find adventures in your own backyard. There's a lot of treasures around us that sometimes we just don't see because, we're living in that area day in, day out. We're just in the grind and everywhere else seems more attractive. All right. So let's go ahead and we're going to talk about Thursday. Thursday, the moon is still in Sagittarius. And Sagittarian energy also brings an optimism, a hopefulness, an invitation to dive and connect to your faith. And so, again, if the beginning of the week was feeling heavy and you're like, oh my gosh, will I ever find anything as good again? Will I ever be able to find that partner or find that connection? And I'm giggling because I heard an explanation of this by someone else online, and I thought it was really cute. They're a hairstylist, and they said, like sometimes breaking up with a product can be hard because you feel like, oh, I found the best shampoo ever. How could I ever let it go? Maybe it becomes discontinued. And he likened it to the first guy or gal that you dated in high school. And you might have been like, oh, they were perfect. I loved them so much. And then we broke up. And how am I ever going to find anyone that is like them? They were just amazing. But it was a first love and it was like the first new experience. And then the next week or month, you meet someone else and you're like, oh my God, there's more opportunities out here. There's even more experience and adventure to be had. So that faith, that optimism, Yeah, also the thing about Thursday is that it's really about taking action because Sagittarius is fire. It's not just sitting around and daydreaming, but it's acting on your faith. So, for example, I really consider it to be more co-creating rather than manifesting because I feel like manifesting has been a word that's been overused and it's gotten a bad rap of I'm going to sit there and go humana 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 and the dollar bills are going to fall in my lap. All right, great. If that works for you, awesome. Stick with it. But what I've experienced myself and what I've seen my clients experience as I walk them through with this is it's like a dance with the divine. We send up a wish like that 9 of Cups and we say, okay, dear God, source, great spirit, whatever you call that higher power by, infinite intelligence, please, my heart desires to be able to find a partner that I can be at home with, that I can find adventure with, that I can feel peace with, or that job, that provides the abundance, whatever it is, fill in the blank. And then you can say, give me a definite lead. Which direction should I go in? And then we're paying attention and we have faith that we're going to get that definite lead. And as that lead comes, then we take action. And so that Thursday energy, I'm going to invite you to really be in a grounded place because you'll get the insights and the downloads, but you might be so caught up in the beauty of the insight of the vision that it might not be in a place where you can ground it. So for that, what I want to invite you to do, and I'm going to just share this really quickly. Some of you guys have seen this. And Deanne, so great to have you here. I met you this weekend at the beautiful Body Mind Spirit Expo. Glad you're here. So I'm going to just put up on the screen really quickly my favorite grounding practice that I give to all of my clients. And this is irenamiller.co/get calm. And this particular practice, what it does is it walks you through 2-minute guided visualization of grounding. And as you ground and you feel connected to the physicality of this world, you flush and release everything out of your space. And as you flush and release everything out of your space, then you fill up with a beautiful golden light. And what that does is that enables you to have your feet on the ground as your head is in the clouds. So we don't want just head in the clouds and just be full of good ideas and never actually make them happen. So this guided visualization, the irenamiller.co/get calm, that can help you when you're looking to bring your dream into reality. And I'm going to really encourage you on Thursday, ground. Maybe you go outside, maybe you touch a tree, bare feet on the grass if you can, but it's going to enable you not to just kind of stay spinning with the great ideas instead of enabling them to come into physical being. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to talk about Friday. So with Friday's energy, moon still in Sagittarius, get that off the screen. And as the moon is in Sagittarius, Mars also goes into Leo. This is so exciting. Mars is going to be so much happier. And it's the fire sign, that boost of confidence that I'm ready to be courageous. I'm ready to go for it. Ask that person out, ask for the promotion, ready to, go for the leap with the dream, maybe starting your own business, maybe starting a project, but that confidence is going to receive a boost. So if you've been hesitating on something, that idea, the conversation, you're going to feel a little bit more support and motivation to go for it with Friday. So really enjoy that energy of being able to shine. And I'm going to just ask, how can you make the most of this energy? What is it that you need to know on Friday? Good Friday. And so as I shuffle, just kind of see who pops up. There we go. Justice. So it is about finding the balance and about knowing that you need to be honest with yourself. Sometimes we hold back because we might be doubting ourselves. We might be doubting our talents, our gifts. And this is just saying we're going into objectivity, kind of like the Queen of Swords who came up with Monday's energy. She is looking at herself honestly and with great truth. Her eyes are closed, but her reflection, if you can see, the eyes are open. And she knows herself inside and out. And she's approaching it from a very balanced perspective. She's not trying to overdo it and bloviate and bravado and I got this, maybe when she feels like she hasn't. She's being honest with herself. So those ideas and inspirations that came through on Thursday when Mercury met up with Neptune, by Friday, when you're feeling bold and courageous, again, it's taking that step where you're not biting off more than you can chew. You know, I remember situations where, you know, especially when I did coding back in the day and worked in a corporate setting, you'd have all these things come up, and it really was a fake it until you make it kind of thing in the late 90s and early 2000s, where it's like, sure, I can figure that out, and you're trying to like learn the code as much as you can, and the anxiety, it just gets to you, and sure, maybe you can figure it out, but to be honest with yourself in this moment and say, okay, I can figure this out, but I don't have to pretend like I know it all right now. And I can present that to my manager, my boss, my colleagues, and say, that's great. You know what? I can figure it out. I don't know how to do it just yet, but I'm going to make it happen. And that can take a lot of the anxiety away. So, oh, I get chills. Just a little bit of a caveat. Man, those days were scary. I don't want to go back to them. All right. So Saturday, the moon moves. Ooh, and one jumped out. I'm going to pay attention to him. Saturday, the moon moves into Capricorn. So Capricorn is the visionary. Capricorn says, okay, you know what? Scorpio, you went through all the deep feelings. You kind of sat in the dark places. You went through the deeper healing work. And then you got into the playfulness of Sagittarius. You dug into the faith. You had the optimism. It's going to work out. You had the inspiration with Thursday's energy. And then come the weekend, when the energy of the moon moves into Capricorn, it's like, okay, well, let's really put, rubber to road. Let's come up with the framework and the plan that's going to enable you for the next new moon. We need to clear out the clutter, clear out the chaos. Don't let the emotion sway you. It's all business. It's not personal, the Capricorn moon says. And we're going to get to the really, I wanted to say the heart of it, but it's not so much the heart of it as it is the solution. Like, how do we come to the solution? Capricorns are great when there's crisis. The world is falling apart, and the Capricorns, very steady. They might be having all sorts of tumultuous emotions within them, but they know how to hold it together in a crisis. Very, very strong. So I'm going to invite you, anchor your ideas back in and bring some structure to them. Maybe just jot out a timeline, a framework of what you're looking for, and know that it's not a rush to get it out, but slow and steady. Capricorn is an earth sign, so they're not looking to rush right to the finish line. So what you need to know is that number one, community and teamwork make a big difference, but also stepping into that role of expert, that people are coming to you for advice, and to honor that and to honor the wisdom that you've gained over the years within your field, and be open to supporting and sharing your wisdom. The other thing that came out, that popped out before, was the World card, is that there is something coming to a completion. There's a moment getting ready for graduation and success. We are at that time of year, many people graduating. But ultimately, ask yourself, what is the legacy you're building? And does it help to have the community around you? Who do you want to be on your team? You're looking at your team and you're saying, who have I been loyal to, or who's been loyal to me, that maybe it's not in divine right balance anymore? What might need to shift? What might need to change? Heck, it could even be like the type of computer or operating system you're working with. It could be the color of your hair. Who knows? But just give yourself a moment to do the reflection at the beginning of the week. And then Sunday, the moon is still in Capricorn, but it moves to a last quarter moon. And when the last quarter moon comes up, I love to use a compassionate, sacred healing practice for our hearts with the last quarter moon. I feel like this is a wonderful time to be very kind to ourselves, that when we're reflecting back, because waning moon is a good time to kind of think, all right, what have I done? What got me here? What might I need to change and tweak for the next cycle so that I can more successfully bring my dream in the next round? If you feel like you didn't quite reach your target goals or your markers, your stats, whatever it would be. When we do that reflection and we look back, that hindsight, we can sometimes beat ourselves up over certain choices. And that frustration, that anger, that inner critic can sabotage us on our next efforts. Like, why didn't you do that? Oh, it's so easy for everyone else. What's your problem? Cancel, clear, delete. I'm not looking in the camera when I say that because we don't want that in your space. So the compassionate practice, and I love to go to the Ho'oponopono practice for that, which is, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And maybe you have to say that to yourself for being loyal to something for a little bit too long that kind of just petered out. Maybe you have to say that to someone else that you feel like you've harmed or wronged that might make it hard for you to move forward. But take the time to do the deep healing work and be compassionate with yourself so that you can move forward for the next growth cycle, next new moon that comes in. And how can you make the most of this energy? Ooh, and she came out upside down, Four of Wands. So what's holding you back from having a good time and celebrating with your friends? Where are you resisting the joy and the playfulness in life? Four of Wands is stability. Sometimes we're drawn to the drama, and a Leo moon, and we're not in Leo moon here, but Mars goes into Leo on Friday, but the Leo energy, drama is fun for them. They're our actors and actresses, the thespians, the ones who can really work and play within the world of drama. Is there something that's holding you back from connecting with others, from connecting with people? Allow yourself the opportunity to get out there and to have some fun, to let your hair down, to play, and know that it's safe to be you. All right. Oh my goodness gracious. It is so much fun to see all of you here, to get together every Monday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern live to talk about the moon and what it's doing. I really encourage you, have some fun this week. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, get out in the spring. Southern Hemisphere friends, hopefully it's beautiful fall weather. Wherever you are, make sure that you trust your vibes, you follow your heart, and stay tuned for lots of goodies. New moon ceremony coming up with Moon Club in about a week and a half. If you're curious about that and you want to play with the moon more, I'm going to just go ahead and pop in the Moon Club information where I guide you through connecting with the moon and how you can, on more of a spiritual practice level and day-to-day practice level, really engage with the moon so that you don't have to ride that roller coaster of emotions up and down. And that address is irenamiller.co/club. Have a great week. Trust your vibes. Follow your heart. Mwah. And I'll catch you all on the flip side. Bye, guys.